Good evening. Welcome. We want to thank you all for joining us for what is now our 4th annual Quills and Quotes poetry contest and reading event. We were remarking earlier when we walked in the door, we can't believe it's been 4 years of this, and we have a former winner who's joining us again this evening with the second entry this year. So we're really excited to see that start to begin to happen as our poets write more and more poetry. April, as some of you may know, is National Poetry Month, which was inaugurated by the Academy of American Poets to celebrate poetry and its vital role in our American culture. And that's why we host this annual event each year at this time.
On their site, poets.org, the Academy of American Poets suggests 30 different ways that you can celebrate National Poetry Month. And then between writing the poems in our schools for submission in our contests and then being present tonight, Sonia and I figured that we have completed about 10 as a district, 10 of those ways to celebrate poetry. And we're going to share some of those with you right now.
The first is they recommend creating an anthology, and each of you received on your seats this evening the collection of all of the winning entries from about 100 poems that were submitted. You have the 20 winning entries, and you represent that very special group of poets this evening.
Number 2, the Academy of American Poets suggests that young people attend a community poetry event. And here we are.
They also recommend that you buy a book of poetry from your local bookstore, and there are several collections of poetry that will be part of the gifts that we're going to be giving our winners this evening, and working with 8 Cousins to be able to do that.
Fourth, they talk about reviewing concrete examples of how poetry matters in our country today, and many of the student submissions were poems about America.
They recommend that you learn more about poets and poetry events in your community and across the state and across the country. And we're very fortunate to be joined this evening by our featured poet, Alice Cochemba, who's going to talk to us about local poetry.
Also, attend a poetry reading at a local university, bookstore, cafe, or library within your school district.
And we added Highfield Hall to the list. Read a poem at an open mic. Some of you may choose to use the mic, some of you may choose not to use the mic as a way to meet other readers in your area and find out about what's going on with local poetry in your community. They
suggest you read a poem titled Poem.
And this evening we happen to have a winning entry called Poems, so we included that. Celebrate the Poem in Your Pocket Day. The idea is simple. Select a poem you love, carry it with you, share it with coworkers, family, and friends, and we expect there's a number of families here today who are going to be sharing some very special poems in the collection.
And finally, get ready for Mother's Day by making a card featuring a line of poetry.
And so as part of our preparation, in addition for tonight's event, we did a little bit more of our internet research, and we uncovered some fun facts that we just thought we'd share with you about poetry. From the list of about 30, we pulled out 8 that we thought you would really find particularly interesting.
All right. Fun fact number 1, Shakespeare is among the 3 biggest selling poets in the world.
Said many years of advanced, publication, but you'll catch up. Mahabharata is the longest poem in the world. It's an Indian epic poem, and it has approximately 1.8 million words in it. We're reading it later.
The poet E.E. Cummings dedicated one of his poetry books that was titled No Thanks. He dedicated that to the 14 publishers who refused to publish that book.
He self-published that. German poet Gottlieb Bergman so despised the letter R that he avoided using it in his poetry and in his everyday speech, which we are wondering how he avoided using his last name.
Number 5, poet Lizzie Dotton claimed that her book, Poems from the Inner Life, contained poems that she allegedly received from the ghost of Edgar Allan Poe.
A phobia of poetry actually does exist. None of you have it. And it's called metrophobia.
On the contrary, metromania describes the compulsion to write poetry.
That some of you may have. And poetry is the best way to vent out your emotions, evoke feelings, and regardless of what kind of poem you have, poems convey the truest and most honest feelings that one has. And that's why some poets elect not to share their poems. And that rings true as you listen to tonight's poems. And we're going to start later when our winners read from our youngest poets and go up to some of our older poets. And you're going to notice that progression of emotion and maturity that comes.
So beyond those fun facts, it's also important to note that Massachusetts is the home to many famous poets. Some poets from our state include Ralph Waldo Emerson, E.E. Cummings, Henry David Thoreau, and even the famous Dr. Seuss. Another famous poet and songwriter is Catherine Lee Bates, who wrote America the Beautiful, and she's from right here in Falmouth.
So today, we are also very excited to have with us another poet from right here in Falmouth. We welcome for the first time to the Quills and Quotes mic, Miss Alice Kochemba. Using humor and memory to celebrate people and place, Alice has published her poetry in numerous literary journals and is the author of Born Bridge and Death of T-Ticket Hardware.
Her community activities include founding Calliope Poetry. Always get that wrong. Calliope Poetry for Community, and since 2009, she has facilitated a monthly poetry discussion group at the Falmouth Public Library.
Alice is also the first poet to receive a literacy award from the Cape Cod Council of the International Reading Association for promoting literacy through poetry. Alice met her husband, Rich Yeomans, through poetry as well, and they lived together in North Falmouth.
Paper Route received an International Publication Award from the Atlanta Review. Alice's poems have appeared in many literary journals, including Cape Cod Poetry Review, Comstock Review, Off the Coast, and Salamander.
And so now we'd like you to join us in a round of applause as we welcome to the mic Alice Kochemba.
I am going to use the mic, and I have my water because it's spring and the allergies are active. But it's so wonderful to see everybody here. And I was asked to do a reading, and I said, well, maybe we could have a conversation. And so what I thought I would do to start the conversation, because I'm going to stop after the poem, each poem, and ask if you care to respond. I'll ask it as a question, or I'll give you a tip on how to write, because I hope all the writers here will continue to write poetry. So I'm going to start with a very short poem that I actually wrote when Adelaide Cummings became Falmouth's first poet laureate, and they had her celebration here at Highfield Hall. She was 98 when she was deemed Falmouth's first poet laureate, and she started writing poetry at the age of 89. So any of the people in this audience who are not children, it's not too late to pick up the art of poetry. So this is the poem I wrote in her honor, and it's called, the general poems are called Ars Poetica, or a poem to celebrate the art of poetry. So here's a very short one. Why we write. Because the songbirds have gone, and the only sound at dawn an intermittent hiss of rain. Because the surf thumped and shushed the empty shore, and the insipid blue sky suddenly turned blood orange. Because such beauty evokes such loneliness that could also be yours. So that is a very simple little poem. All you have to do is come up with why you do anything. Why do you play soccer? Why do you procrastinate and not want to go to bed? And then you can just do a very short poem with the word because that repeats. So I said that why I write is because I want to really connect with other people. Any of the poets here want to say why they write? Because you've been told to? You don't have to answer. But I'm just about to tell you the story of how I got into poetry. I had told Ms. Nobles this story, and so I'm going to introduce it by reading another poem of my own that was actually published in Comstock Review, and it's called Self-Portrait. And that's another way you can write a poem, is just simply describe yourself in a poem. Self-portrait. I have a history of quitting It started at Miss Dolan's dance studio. I failed shuffleball change, developed a Shirley Temple phobia, then quit piano after I botched traffic cop at the recital. I like long walks in old cemeteries. In a drizzle of grace, stones vibrate. I prefer winter to spring, its absence of songbirds. Human nature's my fascination. I'm repelled by frogs, bees, snakes, wonder if phlox is a disease or a breed of deadly spider. Even the forests oppress me. I'm fond of cobblestone clotted streets, but love the music of wind and water. I choose fog over sun. I crave dreamless sleep when the Ferris wheel of vision thought stops. I think too much, anyway. It took me years to read again after the injury. I wish I could love again. I'd start with the planet, try to recycle. So that poem buries inside of it how I got involved in poetry. I was pouring lemonade for my son's Little League team on a Saturday right before Mother's Day, and I was hit by a line drive by a baseball. And I lost the ability to read as an adult. And how I got back to be able to read and also to work and to drive was the secretaries at the place I worked, a hospital actually, sent me a book of Emily Dickinson poems. And I was surprised that neither Robert Frost nor Emily Dickinson made your list, but I'm going to try to do this one from memory. But what you'll see is, in case I can't do it from memory, I brought the book along in case I have to cheat and read it. So Emily Dickinson's poems are short-lined, and they're relatively short poems as well. So this is the one that I really connected to, and I'll see if I can do it. I many times thought peace had come when peace was far away. Like wrecked men deemed they sight the land at center of the sea, and struggle slacker but to prove as hopelessly as I, how many the fictitious shores before the harbor lies. And one way I can remember that poem is that it has end rhyme, and I had the opportunity to read all the poems that were chosen to win, and I noticed that some of you have that tip in your pocket, that if you want to remember something, if you rhyme it, the chances are you're going to remember it. Now everybody probably remembers some nursery rhymes, and that's the tip that you know from reading out loud to your children too, is if it rhymes like Dr. Seuss, you'll be able to follow along pretty quickly. Okay, so then what I decided to do was to read a couple of poems that I wrote based on when I was a child. And I didn't write them when I was a child, but I am going to read one. The title is called Mea Culpa, which is Latin, and it means through my fault. And it comes from a prayer, which is a prayer that I knew when I grew up, and it repeats. So it's mea culpa, mea maxima culpa. So it's through my fault, through my most grievous fault. And I wrote this before the term bullying was coined. And it's not about what I did, it's about what I failed to do. So when you're talking about, things that sort of haunt you, sometimes not having the courage to speak up at a certain time. So this was probably when I was maybe in first, second, or third grade. Mea culpa. I wasn't kind to Eileen Keneally. Mea culpa. Unkempt and shy, her sin abject poverty. Dishwater hair painfully thin, cooties the taunt would begin. Picked at scabs, covered her limbs, on the count of 3 leper and run. I wasn't kind to Eileen Keneally, mea culpa. Ragamuffin wraith, silent haunted eyes, never dared to cry, whipped and scorned as he on her way to Calvary, and I as scared as she of childhood cruelty. I wasn't kind to Eileen Keneally, mea culpa. So I'm sure you've all had that experience of seeing somebody treated badly for no really apparently good reason. I thought I would read that. And another one, which I talked to Ms. Nobles about when I was 10, my father died, and in this book, Born Bridge, I wrote a whole series of poems about what it was like to lose my dad when I was that young. So I'm just going to read one of those. And I was going to ask, has anybody in this audience, you don't have to be a child, ever eaten more than they should have eaten? Maybe chocolate, maybe Halloween candy or Easter candy or anything. So I have had that experience too. So I am going to read this one. Again, it's short, and it's set right after my father died. And again, it's called a binge. First binge. I won't say it was my last, but I would say it was my first. Mrs. Shea brought over butterscotch blondies after Daddy's wake. Gooey, brown, sugary, caramel, and butterscotch chips, not the Nestle's bits I was used to. But I wasn't used to neighbors in the parlor either. In the dimly lit pantry, I cut sweetness into dainty squares, arranged them on a blue willow cake plate. 2 dozen 2-inch treats. I tried one, so soft and sticky, the taste I associate with fresh beef. Carol made the tea, Mary served the ginger ale. I stayed behind the pantry door. I eat every last one. This sin I never confess. I'm still not sorry. So I can see that some people have maybe done that. Once it's done, there's no sense in dwelling on it. You can be sorry, but not doing it again is probably the best sorry. So I was also wondering what you might want to know about writing poetry. Like, what do you write about? Obviously, I've written about myself. I've written about my family. And also you can write about where you live, where you grow up. So I'm going to end with actually 2 poems. And I'm going to sort of give you, for those of you that might be like me, I actually don't like being up in front and reading in front of a microphone. So no matter whether you use the microphone or not, take a minute, take a breath. We're all here for you. Don't worry if you stumble over it. Robert Frost had a great way of dealing with this. Somebody taught me this. There's a famous poem by Robert Frost called Stopping in the Woods on a Snowy Evening. Towards the end, he repeats the line. And I have miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. So if you don't know if you missed a line, if you're reading it from a page, you can always repeat it. We'll think you're just another Robert Frost. So I'm going to read the title poem of this book, Born Bridge. How many people have traveled off the Cape and then they can't wait to see the bridge when you're coming down the highway? When I was a kid and we would come to Falmouth, what I loved was sort of like you just wait and wait and wait. And then you'd see it, and all of a sudden it was like magic. So here's my poem about Born Bridge. not the hard rain the rivers crave, not the downpour to quench the forest floor, just a light mist on almost empty roads, as I'm entombed in gray, the only sound an intermittent shush, wipers clearing windshield. This quiet is pleasing, a monochromatic alone, when suddenly the overcast lightens from charcoal to dove, then splits into strands of mauve, salmon, rose, and the bridge ahead luminous, wrapped in a pale blue shawl. Each raindrop clings, glistening in pure light that's always there, even when hidden. I've come home. So I also wanted to remember some of the things you were saying that we should talk about during National Poetry Month. The Jewish congregation actually, the rabbi picked that poem, Born Bridge. He actually does a poem a day in National Poetry Month for his congregation, which I thought was very sweet for him to include my poem. And that I should tell you about other poetry happenings. It just so happens that this Saturday from 2 to 4 at the Falmouth Public Library, I will be moderating a conversation on race through poetry. And it's for Falmouth Reads Together, and it's open, it's free. There'll be plenty of refreshments to binge on. And if you want to come and hear two very accomplished poets read about race and identity, please feel free to come this Saturday, 2 to 4. So I'm gonna end with this poem, which if I said I have one favorite poem that I've written so far, this is the one. It's the one actually people often ask me to read. It has a lot of humor in it, self-deprecating humor, where you laugh at yourself, which is the best kind of humor to have. And when I've read it, people will come up to me and say, I don't know if any of you remember T-Ticket Hardware. And T-Ticket, it's a little hardware store. And it went out of business, and people will come up to me and say, can you write a poem about town paint? So be careful what you write, because at some point people are going to ask you to write more. So here it is. Death of T-Ticket Hardware. I never knew his name, nor he mine. He was always there, patient, polite, shy. I never knew the name of what I needed either, but he did, after listening. You know that thingamajig that connects the hose to the washer? I need the innards of a lamp. He'd find it in a flash through overcrowded aisles so narrow only Munchkin could maneuver. In the back of the store on the dusty top shelf where what's-its live. He'd tell me how to use it, and he'd tell me again, drawing it on the little scratch pad he kept at the register, not the electric kind, next to the dish of pennies and the bowl of lollipops. I would always leave with a red one and confidence. He was the kindest man in town. I imagine he went home at 5:30 every night to the apartment above the store and told his wife over meatloaf and mashed potatoes, green beans and pecan pie. That lady came in again today. Seems bright enough, but doesn't even know a lamp has a socket. And he'd smile when she would say, "Oh, Mrs. Dimwit," and they would turn on the news at 6. The drive to town is eerie now that T-Ticket Hardware is gone. Boarded up windows stare like a zombie whose soul's been stolen by Walmart. Peter Cabral, son of John, son of Peter, son of John. I never said hello or goodbye or thank you. Thank you.
Just one more round of applause for Alice Cochemba joining us. And as a, okay, sorry.
Oh, thank you.
We'd like to share flowers with you.
Oh, thank you,
Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, and now the reason that you're all truly here, no offense. So we're excited to celebrate 20 student poets who represent kindergarten all the way up through senior year of high school here at Falmouth Public Schools. We're very thankful for their talents and the ways in which you, their family, and their friends, and their teachers have fostered their creativity, which will be showcased here tonight.
So just before each winner is brought up to the mic, we do have a few more important people that we'd like to just express our gratitude to for helping us make this event possible. First and foremost, we want to thank Dr. Nancy Taylor, Superintendent of Schools, who supports us every time we have a creative project. She says, sure. And here we are 4 years later working on this project. Anna Noble, our project manager in the Office of Curriculum Instruction, she called you all to announce your selection. So thank you, Anna.
We also want to thank Sarah Hines and everybody at Eight Cousins Bookstore who was kind enough to help us with the gifts that our recipients will be getting today.
Our friends here at Highfield Hall for allowing us to come in every year and being so gracious, helping us set up, and we really feel this is the best venue for our event, and we're very thankful that they allow us to come in every year.
And finally, we want to thank the judges who read through all of the submissions. First, Tim Adams, principal at North Falmouth, who's here with us today. Thank you, Tim. Tom Bushy, the principal of Lawrence School, who couldn't be with us today. Sarah Cox, the grade 7 through 12 English department head. And Mary Gans, the principal of Falmouth High School. So thank you to all our judges who read through your poems and had to make all the really tough decisions. Who's with us today?
Ready?
All right, so we're going to start with the lowest grades, so our little elementary winners, and then we're going to move our way up to the high school. And so I'll call one of your names up, and I have your poem here in case you don't have it. And what we're going to ask you to do is read it to the audience. And we have a microphone for you. If you want to, I can hold on to it for you while you read your poem. And after you're done reading your poem, we'll give you a big round of applause. And then Dr. Taylor will come and give you your prize. Sound good? All right, so first round that we have is for our students in grades kindergarten through grade 3. And the first person we'd like to welcome up is the honorable mention winner from East Falmouth Elementary School. Please welcome Dorothy Linton.
A sea of stripes go flashing by. Black, white, black, white, black, white. A long line of stripes, no end in sight. Black, white, black, white, black, white. A herd of dashing zebras. Black, white, black, white, black, white.
Congratulations.
Forget your prize. And the title of that poem was The Long Striped Sea. Apologize for this. Next, we have another honorable mention winner from East Falmouth Elementary, North Falmouth Elementary, Rashawn Rice, grade 3.
America, a land of opportunity. America smells like freedom. Together we can do lots of beautiful things. We can contribute and donate to soldiers and others. Together, we're always together. Everyone has a lot of beauty and intelligence. We all could help the country. We could all help the homeless. We can do anything. We just have to think. Together, we're always together. You can play basketball like Kyrie Irving. You can be a star patriot like Paul Revere. You can be a celebrity like George Washington. You can be an inventor like Patricia Beth, who helped people with their cataracts. Together, we're always together. You could help the world. You could be a brave firefighter. You could be a brave police said, you could be a talented baker. You can be anything you want. You could be a wise sailor. You could be a president. You just have to think that you can do it. Together, together, we're always together. America is a land of opportunity and peace.
Okay, next we have our third place winner for the grades kindergarten through grade 3. The poem is called So Beautiful and is by Nolan Griffin at T-Ticket School. Just like we said before, sometimes people like to keep their poems to themselves, so he's giving me the privilege of letting you read the poem. So the title is So Beautiful by Nolan Griffin. So beautiful, not black or blue, white only. White snow in the backyard, news people saying that it's 12 degrees. Even cold, really cold. Can be fun, hanging lights, wreaths too. Igloos made of snow covering towns, making apple pies, singing songs. Nice and warm inside. Gee, it's cold out. Happy face, tappy feet. All right, our second place winner is from East Falmouth Elementary School, and it's Brenner McClone.
The breeze of summer. I am the breeze of summer. I am the wind that pushes you when you play. When you get hot, I will refresh you. When you are sweaty at the beach, wait for me to cool you off. When you lay in a hammock, I will whisk you off to sleep. I am the breeze of summer.
All right, and for this group of students, grade kindergarten through grade 3, our first place winners from T-Ticket School, reading Silly Stuff. Here is Natalie Currinchin.
Don't brush your hair with your toothbrush. Don't brush your teeth with your comb. Don't glue the store in your slippers, and don't wear your boots at home. Don't wear your scarf in the summer. Don't wear your swim fins in snow. Don't rake the tulips in springtime, and in fall, don't try to get the crocuses to grow. Don't take your goldfish to the dog park. Don't make your iguana play catch. Don't let your cat run on the hamster wheel, and don't wait for puppy eggs to hatch. Don't forget any of these silly things. Remember all these important rules when you're out and about in the world. One more thing, watch out for the sharks and the ghouls.
All right, so our next age group is for students in grades 4, 5, and 6. So first we have for honorable mention, a grade 6 student at Morse Pond School. Here's Jillian Ramirez.
Alone. Sitting, alone but not alone. Silent but talkative. Sitting, drinking. Time to spy, take, talk. Last light of the night, out the door, the darkness swallows you whole. Beyond the darkness is a light.
Our next honorable mention is grade 4 from Mullenhall School. Here's Edward Kelly. Also giving me the privilege of reading through his poem. It's called The Growing Thought. A thought is a sprout that has yet to grow. Beginning with a seed, it can turn out to be anything. At first sight, nobody pays much attention to it, for it is weak. It has to keep growing on and on. For if it stops, it will decay. We must keep feeding the growing thought. Next we have from North Falmouth Elementary School, our third place winner for this category. From grade 4, Naomi Shank.
Imagination. In your imagination, you could live in a castle with knights in shining armor wearing helmets decked with tassels. Or you might live in the ocean with all the crustaceans and fish, with dolphins that make dreams come true. So come on, make a wish. Imagination can take you anywhere, from Canada to Tasmania, or from Panama to Orion, or all over the universe. In your imagination, you can be anything, a doctor or a teacher or even a paneling. In your imagination, anything is real, be it angel pigs with wings or a male animal.
All right, our second place winner for this age category is from grade 4 at North Falmouth Elementary School. Here's Lily Theophanides.
Poems can be about anything, so please give it a try. It's quite delightful, time just flies by. Poems can be about monkeys performing at a circus, knights fighting duels. They can even be about kittens and puppies, even donkeys and mules. Imagination flies in writing these, though you don't have to be that good. You can never read Shakespeare in a day, just try it if you would. Poems can be realistic, or fantasy, or sci-fi. They can be personification, or a crash to my own mind. Some about cakes and cookies, some on sugary sweets, some about puffs and pastries, others on dairy treats. Cheese and pizzas and Philly cheesesteaks, teriyaki chicken and shepherd's pies, soups and beef stews. Poems can even be about raspberry pies. Flutes whistle and blow, clarinets and oboes tune, French horns bellow. You can write until noon. Nouns are things to write about things. Poems can be verbs or adjectives. They can be about noises like winds. Places you've seen and places you know, boats and ships sailing the sea, watching for whales, as well as looking at me. Poems can be about anything, so just be creative and wild. Be fun and imaginative, just get someone beguiled. Poems don't have to be complicated, they can be easy. Complication makes them hard. Don't perplex things, and they'll be easy peasy.
Okay, and first place for this age group is from 4th grade at Mullen Hall School. The title of the poem is The Brass Cup of Stories, and here's Faye McGuire.
The brass cup has been tarnished by stories. Stories fill it, young and old. Valued highly, the stories in the brass cup. Small, carved beautifully with wit from generations ago. Some sad leave a dent in the brass cup as they do in your heart. Stories are changed by generations, as is the cup. They can be polished, as can the cup. Traced back to their beginnings, like a tarnished cup being polished until it shines copper like a new penny. But the cup is a story to be shared.
Okay, and how about one more time for everybody from our 1st grade, 4th grade, 6th grade category.
All right, so the next category for grades 7 through 9, the first honorable mention I'd like to introduce is by Maggie Giovannis.
I search. I claw my way through brambles as the net of emotion seizes me. Light peeks through the leaves, tearing my way towards the dawn. Palms drip red with desire. The hold of the present snaps. I break free. I search, struggling to regain my balance. How much has changed since I was trapped within my own walls? I search. It all looks different, yet I sense a deep intimacy within the outlandish haze. I take my first steps. I search. I study my obscure frame. Black ink drips from old wounds. I study my new world. Smiling faces erased and torn. Sketch paper dried by onyx's breath. I study the dark ebony above. The sun is blotted out by faded parchment. I search. I feebly wander the cataclysmic world I might have called home some day long past. I step over corpses, memories concocted of homespun feelings, those I dreamed of being in my own red letter macrocosm. I search. A silhouette blocks my path. I gaze at its figure, a blurred face. I search, scouring the shelves of my mind, wondering whether the shadow was someone I should have remembered, wondering what else my reminiscences failed to nail down, and what else has been tarnished. I sort, I search, squinting through the room, but no, my mind is forsaken, softened, worn down, left behind, all these images of my tender past. I search. My head hangs from weary shoulders. My mind swirls in a myriad of responses, yet all I can muster is a simple sorry. I search. These perfect words to heal these wounds I have inflicted on the forgotten. Nothing can revive your memories now. The voice mutters in an apathetic tone, colder than the recesses of my incessant mind. I search. Is there anything I can change now? Suddenly my vision of this hellish world fades, breaks up like a damaged TV. I search. The light returns to my eyes. Dew-laden morning air filters through the window left ajar. I look behind to the walls, expecting to see the smiling faces of my teen-cut idols. But the walls are barren and blank. And existence hits me like a raging flame, and I realize I am once again 27. And I cry. How could I have forgotten something so precious, something that helped me cope with hard reality? The one place I could ever really let my true self shine, the one person that truly knew me inside and out, knew my flaws, my cracked sidewalks, my broken glass, and still held me within its compassionate warmth, something that made me me. I searched for a bygone reason as to why I forgot all that I've ever known, but I find nothing. I search. I lie back down, my eyes closed, and I make a heartfelt, long-awaited return to the forgotten lens. I search for the darkness I visited mere moments ago, the hazy pain of overlooked memories. Yet all I see is brilliant, passionate, poignant, heartfelt, loving light, welcoming me back into its familiar, empathetic embrace. Memories of past, present, and future, compiled into a new compendium of my timeless recollection. I search, I find, I remember.
Our second honorable mention was composed by Paige Farrington. Paige was unable to join us this evening. Says Mr. Wanaker had the privilege earlier. I have the privilege to read this one to you. It's titled Playful War. The calm before the storm, the sun before the rain, an innocent little girl losing to the madness of war. Friends walk into the field with their heads held high, not yet experiencing the terror that was yet to come. Looking at the harmless bullets in their hands, inspired by the boredom from plastic toys, little warriors passing gentle bullets back and forth, not knowing what harm they would face. Boredom turns to annoyance, and joy to anger, and innocence to sin. As plastic morphs into metal, anger spikes and tensions rise. The children turn to troops in the line of fire. She took one shot, fueled by a human's need for power, a non-lethal shot that only gave the opponent a window of opportunity for revenge. She stood there, not experienced enough to know that she should have run. He stood there, more experienced, more powerful, looking calm until she looked in his eyes, damaged by past wars and now fueled by anger, David versus Goliath. And as the lethal bomb shot towards her, she stood there like a stick, too scared to move and react. The enemy had her weapon, but somehow it was more effective in his hands. Shot out of the cannon with a boom that rang in her ears for years to come. The bomb came hurtling towards her face, laughing at her stupidity. The young, innocent child fell to the ground, looking weaker than ever before. Yet, she wasn't the only one who suddenly looked weak. The enemy, once darkened by the idea of power and revenge, looks at her now, consumed with a dim glow of guilt. As he walks closer, he saw what he had done. Bloody tears streamed down the innocent's face. Her mouth opened in pain, forcing him to listen to her screams for the rest of his life. And the guilt was taking control, making him drag her to the safety of home, and seeing the innocence taken away only to make the enemy want to help his opponent more. And as she was slowly calming down in the arms of her Savior, he saw what he had become, Fighting creates hate, hate creates revenge, and revenge creates war. War is not meant for children. Her scar will remind them of their first battle, one that would be impossible to forget. Our third place winner in this category is a 9th grade student, Olivia Evans, and she also is unable to be present this evening, and so I would like to read her poem to you as well. It's entitled Defining Effortlessness. I stood, posed, still as a statue. The wait for the music seemed like an eternity, but as soon as those first bars of light melody registered, my body was lifted up and carried away. I sprung to the first step, then the next, and the next, attacking each like a hungry wolf attacks its prey. A motion picture in my head, each step, each detail, making a brief appearance before the next scene took its place. Somewhere, far off in the distance, my teacher called out corrections, but the open space in my brain was as small as the space in the toy-filled playroom of a young child, too absorbed in my movement to focus on anything outside of this world. The wisps of concentration I had left went next into the turning section. I tracked the back corner by a whipped sound as I whipped myself around, as though it were the bullseye, and I was the arrow being shot from the bow. All right. And now I'd like to welcome to the mic our second place winner in this grade group, Colin Raposa.
The brain with the heart. What confusion is this? Do I let my brain thump as I pull on my heartstrings? Does a brain beat as a heart should? What is a brain but a million neuronal symphonies holding together a thought my heart will cherish? And what thoughts may it dispel in such a dissatisfied fashion that my brain stops beating? What then? Does my brain start thinking? Oh no, that is a thought too preposterous for my heart to ever comprehend. Why should such outlandish notions ever cross the heart of my brain which keeps thinking? As my brain thumps, and my ever so curious heart thinks, think about this heart. Why should you think? What proves you to be so much more valiant than my brain? For it is my brain that thumps along, pulling your strings. Why should I be so careful not to put you out of labor? Because it is these outlandish thoughts of a brain thinking and a heart thumping that keep me alive. Because you think inside the brain that thumps along to the tune of the heartstrings that are pulled by that same brain, a neuronal symphony that keeps me thinking. What if a brain thought? What if a heart thumped?
All right, and now I would like you to welcome to the mic our first place winner in this group, Fiona Trumbull.
In another universe, we are 8 years old again. Hot summer days are fueled by laughter and sugar rushes. Your shaky hand in mine rolls through the room with smashed strawberry and sugar, smiles and sticky fingers. Creaking staircases, scraped knees pressed up against each other, the drone of a television program filling the quiet atmosphere. Nostalgia has never tasted so sweet. But I am trapped here inside this house, windswept by long, empty hallways and ceiling fans ridden with razor-sharp movements ready to wound me. Falling asleep on the couch, I saw you in my dreams, and I thought you were beautiful like light seeping through windows, a warm, golden spun and reviving kind of beautiful. Finding traces of your bones scattered across my backyard. In this universe, I call you Ghost Girl. Ghost Girl knows how to merge into walls as if she was there all along, always watching, wanting, waiting for the old house to creak awake. You visit me. I expect to see you sitting at the same staircase where we spent our days 6 years ago, rosy cheeks and eating strawberries. Last night, you came into this house and left me to dream. You should have woken me, should have warned me of your presence. Oh, how I've missed your ripped stockings and smeared lipstick. We have so much to talk about. It's been such a long time. Ghost Girl, you're turning me to dust and I thank you for it. Do not deteriorate. When you wake up, shine for me. Become a holy wild forest swelling the mountains. Do not tremble, exist. Grow into everything I can't, I hear you whisper. Your silhouette transforming into starlight until morning.
Excellent. And so, as we're broken into 4 divisions, this is the 4th for grades 10 through 12, and I'd like to welcome to the mic the first of our 2 honorable mention winners, Madeline Reed.
So some semi-background on the poem I wrote. My AP Literature class was blessed by the Falmouth Education Foundation to be able to go to the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum and to observe the art and to write what is called ekphrastic poetry based on the art. I saw a piece in a traveling room, which was a plaster cast of a nude pregnant woman, and it was just the torso. There was no head, no arms, no legs, and I was inspired by her plain, simple beauty to write this poem. To be a woman. Whole, filled, complete. Words that I am not meant to comprehend, I am but a vessel similar in shape and function to a jug of water. Round, full, heavy. Merely a mechanism for a greater end, a cask meant to bear, only useful when full, only rewarded with praise. To be a woman. The Creator creates, never allowed to appreciate her own divinity, but rather a pawn in humanity's grand design to be a woman.
And I'd like to welcome to the mic our second honorable mention winner, Sarah Blumer.
Yeah, I just came from a lacrosse game, so that's what
And how did you do?
we won. That's where Paige is. She's on the JV team. Okay, so mine's called You Could Have Just Said Hey. So you could have just said hey. You could have just called my name. You could have just said anything other than doing that one terrible and scarring thing. Oh my goodness, I got goosebumps all the way up my arm. I felt like I was going to have a bruise for life. Like I've amputated my arm, like I have an infectious disease, like spiders are crawling all over my body. Like my arm just got chopped off right there. How could you do such a thing? Why would you do such a thing? How could you not remember? I hate being touched. Thank you.
Now, I'd like to welcome our 3rd place winner, Alice Pendergast.
This is entitled Xylophone, No Thank You. You sound like the squeaky pedal on a piano when deafening a note, like someone spraying a cat with water. The sound of dropping a glass bottle on the concrete floor of Jack and the Beanstalk. The scraping of a metal spoon on the bottom of a pasta pot. The highest note on the piano pressed with utmost force. Trumpets with egos that far surpass their skill. A clarinet squeaking and hearing it over the entire band. None of these things I dislike more than the dissonance on the xylophone.
All right, our 2nd place winner, Samuel Koss. Samuel was unable to make it. I think his team may still be out there, so I will take that privilege again, and I will read to you Annoyances. Your actions are poison entering my veins, circulating my body until I can take no more. Your words are piranhas, eating away at my well-being, picking me apart until I can take no more. Your stares are devil eyes, locking in on my self-control, ripping it away until I can take no more. Like a supernatural monster constructed to ruin, annoyances torture one until they can take no more. Annoyances, I need no more. All right. And And now I would like to welcome the first place winner for grades 10 through 12, Alexis Vasilevsky.
This is titled Goosebumps. 1 second, I am in the light, taking notes. The next, I am in a small room. A light turns on. Illuminated is a man stirring a pot of wet macaroni, slowly. He smirks. Another light, another man. He has a fork and plate. My eyes meet his. They plead with his. With no mercy, he scrapes the fork against the ceramic, slowly. Another light, another man. He stands in mud. My eyes slam shut as his squint. He lets the mud squish between his toes. Another light, another man with 2 paper towels, a tear rolls down my face. He walks up to me, puts the dry paper towels to my ears and begins to rub them together. Another light, another man. He holds a water bottle. He too comes up to me, up to my ear, my arms locked at my sides. He drinks and gulps slowly. Another light, another man. I have given up. I fall down, fetal position, tears as abundant as the goosebumps on my arms. This man has lotion in hand, takes it, squishes it between his fingers slowly. Finally, I am back in the light. All that is left, giving me the same goosebumps as this nightmare, is you, your gum in your mouth wide open, chewing slowly.
All right, so if you could join us, another round of applause for all of our winners. I don't know if I need this. Mr. Wadeker and I would really like to just thank everyone for coming out this evening and joining us. This is probably one of our favorite things to do in the Office of Curriculum Instruction all year long. And right now, we're amidst our MCAS testing, among other efforts, and I know for some, summer vacation is calling. But thank you for taking time out this evening and joining us. And just before we say goodbye for the evening, we'd like to ask that all of our winners come together and join us with our featured poet, if she'll join us as well, at the bottom of the stairs for a group photo. Thank you very much and have a great evening.